Hi, everyone. So welcome to our first Fireside chat. And uh, today's Fireside chat is with some of the product managers of Nuke, Katana, and Mari. My name's Matt. I'm a product manager. I work in the research team here at Foundry. And I'm hoping that this chat is an opportunity for all of you here to learn about how we're incorporating your feedback and all of the great suggestions and things that you've been telling us over the last little while, how all that feeds into our products and into our future updates and how it helps to make all of our tools better. It's a great opportunity for you to interact with us through the chat. Please, ask questions in the chat, leave comments. We have some other product managers and some other folks from Foundry who are there in the chat, and they'll be able to interact with you. And we'll also be taking some questions and answering those at the end of this panel. And so it's a great opportunity for you to just get your thoughts out there, and we'll be able to talk to you a little bit today. So I'm joined with my valued colleagues, Juan, Charlie, and Gary, who are here. They are the product managers for Nuke, Katana, and Mari, respectively. And what we're going to do today is we're going to ask Juan, Gary, and Charlie some questions about the big ticket features and items that have appeared recently in Nuke, Mari, and Katana, and where those are headed. And so this is a really great chance to learn not just what's in the latest releases, but also what that means for you and how those are going to evolve over time and help make your workflows better. So one last thing before we move on is that, again, put your questions in the chat, but also be sure to subscribe. My daughter would say, smash that bell and subscribe. So please do that. If you subscribe to our channel, you'll get updates on more events and things that we're doing through our YouTube channel, which we're hoping to expand over the next little while. And we've also got a really amazing show reel coming up. And if you subscribe, you'll get notified when that drops right away. So for sure, subscribe to us because there's going to be a lot more great content on our channel here. I think also, before getting into the questions around where our products are going, I feel like it's really important to acknowledge the impact that the recently resolved SAG-AFTRA and WGA strikes have had on our industry. Honestly, all of us here recognize that it's been tough times. And although we're hoping for a speedy recovery, I know that many of you and many others have already felt the effects that the strikes have had. And Juan, Gary, and Charlie and I, we really value everyone's use of the tools that we work so hard to build and the privilege to be able to do that for you. So I want to mention a couple of things that we've been doing to make our tools more accessible recently, because I think this is important given the conditions that have been created due to the strikes. So not long ago, we extended our trial period for Nuke to 90 days. So if you're itching to get busy with the latest and greatest features in Nuke and Nuke 15, which just came out, go check that out. The 90-day trial for Nuke is still available. It's not going to last forever, so be sure to get your hands on that. So that's a really great way of getting in there. We also have trials available for Katana and Mari, and there is also a open beta of Mari available. So that's something to check out if you're already a Mari user. Some really amazing stuff in there that we'll get into shortly. So now I'm done plugging all of our free stuff. So, oops, sorry, my camera is all messed up. Let me talk a little bit about USD. That's the first kind of big area that I think is worth talking about a bit. So USD has really started to evolve as an industry standard in the last few years. And there's been some big movement in the USD area. The Alliance for OpenUSD was announced, which is a a really kind of a great formation of several companies who are interested in making USD more of an industry standard and helping to bring USD to that next level, which is how do we build workflows and tools around USD. And in Nuke, we've built a new 3D system that's built on USD over the last 2 versions, starting in Nuke 14. Now in Nuke 15, there's an evolved version. This is still in beta, but it's evolving really fast towards being production ready. Katana has an entirely new USD framework, which is really great. Mari has recent improvements in the USD export. All this stuff is amazing, but instead of me talking about it, I think it's be really great for maybe Juan, for you to go into more detail about what exactly does our work in USD mean for our users? Like, why are we doing it? What are the implications kind of going forward? Like, where are we trying to go on this journey with USD? And, why does it matter so much to not just the future of Nuke, but also the future of the types of workflows we're trying to create?
Right. Sorry. Hello, everyone. And thank you, Matt. So yeah, USD has been very, very interesting to look into. Obviously, a lot of people just see it as a file format originally. People that is on top of it knows that it's a lot more than that, and it's a whole infrastructure and pipeline tool in a way, and a lot more in different areas. And Nuke, I think, is a perfect example of how we have evolved in the workflows. Like, we started with Nuke having a 3D system and putting cards onto it. Suddenly, a few years back, you start seeing full CG scenes being brought into Nuke, and everyone saying, oh, Nuke is too slow with 3D system, right? And it was because the system wasn't built for that, but we were moving that very quickly in the evolution of it. And that's why we decided to rebuild the 3D system with USD, was because we saw as well that that was the future for the rest of the pipeline. And that means that we could actually carry the same USD that you're going to use in Katana or in all the three parts of the pipeline and move it directly into Nuke and not have to pay for the loading time. So that was the way that we were looking at it. But that means suddenly that we have whole 3D in Nuke now. And what else can we do? So throughout the last year, we opened a new forum for the USD beta system. And we started hearing feedback from artists of what do they want to do, what is the next things that we want to do in Nuke with this 3D and with USD. And that has allowed us in 15.0 and 14.1 to add new functionality and bring previous workflows as well that don't work with USD and add them into kind of those workflows. And to the future, what we're really looking is, what is USD in compositing? And Gary will talk how we are looking at kind of USD in lighting, the same as Charlie will talk in kind of in texturing. On our side is, well, this is really the first time we have seen USD and a 3D information in a compositing package in such a heavy way. So we are really looking for feedback here from everyone, and we are trying to do as much of this based on workflows that we want to add. So we are looking next into projection workflows and how we are going to change some of that with USD and what areas will change, which areas we actually want to maintain. And that's going to be very interesting. One of those is time, for example. USD and time works in an interesting way. So Nuke OSD is all about time. So how does that work in all our shots? And when you are deciding to hold the camera for a projection, that is different than how it used to work in that way. So even though it's a simple workflow, it's just new things that we need to think about it. But also that opens a whole connection, right, between all of us. So we work obviously with Katana in the architecture of it, and the USD is a shared architecture. And I think it'll be interesting to hear kind of from you, Gary, kind of what sections of that you are bringing into your side.
Yeah, thank you, Juan. It's a great point. So it's interesting because for Katana, we've had a USD solution for a number of years. It was originally developed at Pixar, and it's enabled artists to bring in USD stages complete into the application. But it acted for the most part like a little bit of a black box. So they weren't able to really do an awful lot of digging into the USD stage and manipulate it and beyond a superficial layer. So we've seen some changes over the last couple of years that have made now the right time for us to take all of this to the next level. One of those changes is obviously, as Juan's already mentioned, the idea that Nuke are already diving into this. So it's really exciting to have this underlying core framework that is between both applications that we can both share. So that's one of the big reasons why we're doing this now. Another one is essentially the groundswell of USD is building and building and building. And now the fact that it's no longer just an alternative to Alembic. People want to have this single document that is sort of the ground truth across all of their shops and all of their departments, and potentially even between companies, that they want to have more of the applications that they're using in their pipeline constantly contributing to. They want to be able to do more inside Katana than they used to be able to do with the old tool set. So they want to be able to bake changes out. They want to be able to manipulate and build the actual stage directly inside Katana. So that's another one of the reasons why we're doing this at this particular point in time. But what we're also doing is seeing this a little bit more long term in terms of where the industry wants to go, because there's been some big changes in the Hydra space as well. And Hydra, for those that don't know, was originally designed really as a viewer technology for enabling you to look at the USD stage and to have a look at what's actually in your on the stage, but wasn't really initially very strong for delivering things for final frame pixels. That's got better and better over the years, but we recently made a big change when it comes to Hydra 2.0 or modular Hydra. I think the original white paper was actually called. But essentially what this does is it brings proceduralism into the Hydra space in a big way. And we're really excited by that, because historically, Katana has always acted as like this giant procedural filter between all of the information that's coming from all of your other departments on the way to the renderer. And that's kind of where we got us excited is this change in the industry with Hydra 2.0. So it's really, even though we're really excited by what's come in Katana 7, it's just a building block to where we want to be moving forwards to enable proceduralism actually inside a whole USD and Hydra ecosystem when we're looking to deliver that moving forward. But it's all about creating this single section that is across all of your departments, all of your DCCs, that gives you not just like the baked elements, but also procedural as well. And while I'm talking about like cross DCCs and cross departments, it's probably a good time for Charlie to jump in and to give us a chat about what's been happening in Mari this year for USD export from them.
Sure. Although I feel like your phrasing set me up to fail there. But so this year, not too much in terms of cross-department for USD, but that is part of the plan. So last year, we put a lot of emphasis into really looking at the workflows that studio artists who are in texturing, those who are in look dev, those who are having to springboard between both areas of the workflow as well. And we tried to focus on improving that with the USD solutions that we had. I will say that Mari's USD solutions have been around for 2 or 3 years now. They haven't always been what we wanted them to be, with USD being somewhat new to most of the industry. The USD look exporter, though, that we put out in Mari 6 last year, which is what Gary's referring to as sort of the bridge between Mari and Katana texturing and look dev, has been getting some really, really good feedback. What that essentially does is it supports use for your vendor shaders, such as Arnold and RenderMan, so you can generate that entire complete USD material from Mari itself. And then when you take it into Katana or your look dev tool, then all of your material assignments, they're all nicely set up and ready to go. So it really reduces that back and forth pain there. In terms of what we're doing this year, I said our USD workflows haven't always been what we wanted them to be. So we decided to take a step back. That doesn't mean we're not doing USD. That doesn't mean that we're not looking ahead for what USD means for Mari. It means we want to own that we probably didn't get it right first off. So our USD importer was very much taken as is from the plugins that Pixar gave us back in Mari 4.7. And with the industry being quite slow to adopt new technology, and everybody was, hearing, what is this USD thing? How do we use it? We kind of feel like we should use it. We don't know how. Everybody started adopting it in different ways. Some people still haven't adopted it. Some people are now fully USD. What that meant is it took a lot of time to start getting feedback on those workflows. And one thing that we really didn't want to do was just to power ahead and start looking at more USD features that we could bring into Mari. So USD cameras, USD lights, turntabling systems, anything like that. What does that look like in USD and Mari? We wanted to say, actually, let's get this right. The whole basic workflow of import and export first and foremost. So taking in the direct feedback that we did get from studios over the past, I want to say we started getting feedback around the end of last year. We've been taking that on board directly, and we've completely revamped our USD importer. It is much more user-friendly to use, and that is specifically for artists inside and outside studios. You shouldn't need pipeline teams to understand USD. You should be getting that familiar mesh hierarchy. You should be able to easily select variants from your model. All of that is now there in Mari 7, which is coming up very soon.
It's really great. Like this common theme of USD being out there, but the workflows and how you actually like put it to work either between departments or to bring it into and out of your tool is kind of the area that we're really trying to forge ahead in, and that really depends a lot on feedback and understanding exactly how people work. Juan, you mentioned that there's like a community that we have available for people to do that with the Nuke USD system. So just to plug that, like if you go to Foundry communities, I think it's community.foundry.com. You can go into the Nuke section. There's a section there for Nuke 3D. It's not USD. Like look for Nuke 3D. That's where you'll be able to give us feedback on the new 3D system. I think that's right, Juan.
Yeah, it's the new 3D system, and it's also split kind of in two sections. One more technical, one kind of more around nodes and workflows. Please do come, because actually a lot of the things that we implemented on 15 came actually from feedback that we got throughout the past year there. So it's a great place. There is a lot of other artists that are contributing and having discussions. So we need that contribution from everyone to really think what those workflows are.
Yeah, that's great. And I think another thing that I think is really important to emphasize here is that the core USD system that the new working Katana is based on and the working Nuke is based on is the same system. We've built like a common technology framework that allows us to adapt and hone the workflows within respective tools. I think that's really powerful, right? So I know a lot of there's USD is kind of out there a little bit everywhere. And we're really not taking a piecemeal approach, right? We're really kind of building some nice common frameworks. And I think if you even go into Nuke and Katana respectively, like there'll be some familiarity with how you interact with USD, but it'll also be really specific to the workflows required for those tools. So yeah, do interact with us on the community, and give Charlie a buzz to say how you'd like that to work in Mari. That's really great. So yeah, USDs, that's one really big, exciting area of work. I'd like to dive into a little bit more on Mari, because there's a new release of Mari coming up. It's in open beta currently, and there's some exciting work in there that we haven't touched on. I know some of you probably have seen like the news that dropped yesterday about the Unity and Weta relationship dissolving. Weta is a really strong, valued customer. We love everything they do, and we work with them in the development of Mari. That's going to continue. But just to talk about some of the great stuff we're doing in Mari in the future. I know, Charlie, you've been talking to studios of all sizes, both large studios, small studios, individuals. I think there's a belief that a lot of the workflows and tools that are really helpful for those folks are kind of like universal. And maybe talk a little bit about like what you see those things to be, and maybe also some of the cool stuff in Mari. I know there's this new baking system that sounds really exciting. I have a game development background, so getting textures baked is what I used to love as a game engine developer. So maybe tell us a little bit about all of that.
Yeah, with pleasure. So first and foremost, just to sort of go off something you said there about our user types. Yes, in Mari, we do not just cater to studios. We have an awful lot of individual users who are using Mari as freelancers, those who are using it in education, those who are just using it because they really like Mari. I was one of those people myself before joining. And the good thing is that everybody in individuals and everybody in studio really actually just wants the same thing, which is more tools to paint with, more cool artist features, more things that are going to help them get that done quicker. So when we were looking at what we wanted to do for this year, we really wanted to take into account the feedback that we get from all different kinds of places. So be that talking to studio customers in our regular meetings, be that places like the forum, be that the Mari Extension Pack Discord, which is unofficial, but we are there and we are listening and we love getting your feedback from there. We really want to hear all of that. And Matt said earlier, if you want to ping me about anything, be that if you want to give feedback on USD, if you want to talk about Mari, anything like that, please do. You can ping me on LinkedIn or you can contact the support team. We will happily listen to any of your feedback. So yeah, we took all of that feedback on board and we realized that there were a few different areas we wanted to work on. The first being that we want to make Mari the only texturing package that you need. So yes, the bakery is our headline feature. It is our very own mesh mat baking system. It has been a long time coming. Mari really should have had a baking system. Well, we sort of had the Modo Bake, but we won't talk about that. But we needed our own solid baking system for quite a while. I think it's been a point of contention with a lot of artists, especially with individuals, those who have had to be weighing up, do I try Mari? Do I try multiple different softwares? What do I do to really be able to produce textured assets to the same sort of resolution as that might be that which might be looked at via studio. So especially if you're trying to get into a studio role, you obviously want to be able to create that sort of standard at home. The bakery, as you'd expect, supports baking any kind of recipe. So at the moment, we support ambient occlusion, curvature, thickness, position, and displacement out of the box, but we do have plans to continue building on that. So if you try out the bakery in our beta or in the release when it comes out very soon, and you think, oh, I would really love ID maps or I would really love downslope or anything like that, please do let us know because we can easily add those in the future. And we would love to keep building on that. Just to say as well, there are obviously other features coming in Mari 7. If you haven't checked it out, Matt did mention it is in open beta currently. It is all there, please do. We've put a lot of emphasis on things that really reduce the pain points in texturing. So if you've come to a webinar for Mari before and you've heard me blabber on about quality of life, I love working on quality of life features because they really do make the day better. But things like those node graph improvements, things like going back and reassessing the needs of our USD workflows and that sort of thing, those have all come out of direct feedback from you guys, and they are really important to just making the day a lot easier when working with Mari. One thing that you won't see in the beta in terms of content is we know that a lot of people really like extension pack, and we know that people really like substance for the amount of content and I guess like default materials, that sort of thing that you get out of the box. So it's really easy to get up and running with having those in your arsenal. in Mari, it hasn't always been the same. We do have our materials, but we refer to them more as guidelines. So one thing we are doing is providing more procedural nodes, more custom procedures, that sort of thing. And we look to continue delivering on that with each future release. But also there will be, alongside Mari 7, a delivery of grunge maps, which can be used for masks, that can be used for really getting in the gritty details of your textures. Those have been provided by Johnny Thayer, who is one of the very vocal members of our Mari community, and I really appreciate him taking the time to create those for us. And yes, if anybody would like more content in Mari in the future, please let us know, because we really, really do want to make your lives easier. So, I could talk about Mari for hours, so I'm going to stop.
I'm curious, because I always love, as product manager, all product managers here, so those little quality of life features, right? Those are the ones that, sometimes maybe we don't seem like we're spending as much time, thinking about them, but we really do, right? Like they're those things that people, maybe are using, dozens or hundreds of times a day, right? And if you make those just a little bit better, they actually have like a big impact on your day-to-day life. Maybe just tell me, what is your favorite quality of life feature in Mari 7 that was put in? Like, what's your pet one?
The fuzzy finder in the node graph, which sounds really minor, but so if anyone doesn't know, I used to be in QA prior to being in product for Mari. And the amount of times you have to type in long node names, like multi-channel bait point node, to get that node.
Yeah.
Oof. But the fuzzy finder is great, and it has a less used system. It has a pinning system. It's really, really nice to work with.
Very
cool. Reduces those clicks.
Yeah. Really. Maybe some stuff that'll feed into the USD scene graph stuff as well. That's going into Nuke and Katana, or you can get these really complicated ways of finding things. That's amazing. There was a question in the chat that I thought was interesting, asking about OpenPBR and whether that's something we're looking at.
Was that for Mari specifically?
I think so.
Okay. I'm interested. We are interested. If anyone has thoughts on how they would like that to be implemented in Mari, we are open to discussing that. My understanding is that it is a shader, so if we look to develop it in the same way that we support other shaders, it could be relatively straightforward. But I would love to know if there are workflows that people intend to use with Mari in a more complex manner. Yeah, please do reach out. Would love to talk.
Yeah. And one thing you said that really resonates with me was, kind of making Mari like the only tool you need for painting and texturing work. Like, I think, in terms of having a proven texturing painting tool that fits really well, like at once in a visual effects pipeline, but you can also use on an individual basis. I think, Mari is like a really, it's really proven itself to be able to straddle those extremes. So that's really great. Now it's nice to hear all the amazing stuff we're doing. There's another question in the chat that a challenging one. It was like, what's the point of adding USD to Nuke? Like, before we get too far, I thought this would be a good one. And Juan, I think you did touch on it, right? That like Nuke, obviously, the 3D system was due for a revamp, but that doesn't necessarily imply bringing USD to bear. There's reasons why we've kind of put a bet on USD, and why we think either that's the way things are going, or it's just like it's a good foundation for the 3D the 3D system that we're building. What do you think is kind of motivating that work around USD?
Well, I think the first thing to mention, right, is we're not trying to make Nuke a 3D DCC, right? That is a very important fact there, right? Is having 3D in comp really changed the way we worked. Like, for those of us that have been in the industry for a while, being able to literally just project a roll shape and get the matte out of the camera track, that was amazing, right? When Nuke is starting to be there. As I mentioned at the beginning, a lot of the bigger requests that we got throughout the last few years was the scalability of that 3D system and being able to bring bigger Alembic files or bigger geometry into Nuke. And USD gave us kind of the two best part of this. One, that scalability and bringing bigger geometry into Nuke that didn't need to have translation. If the rest of the pipeline was moving into USD, for us, bringing USD gave us that. We suddenly have a bigger scale that you can work at, a faster 3D system, but also completely connected to the rest of the pipeline. So you can actually have, also remember that Nuke is not just used at the end in comp, it's also used for doing matte painting. So you could be in the middle of the pipeline at one point, or you could be on set. Nowadays with virtual production, there is a lot of kind of workflows where we are starting earlier and doing some comps and then sending them to a virtual production set and then coming back into Nuke. So it allows that connection for the 3D system to exist and for Nuke to have that connection with the rest of the 3D system. Obviously with Katana and lighting, we can do better workflows as well, sending lights, sending materials hopefully soon, and that type of work that allows kind of to have that. So that's why we picked the USD. And then people can create even kind of more workflows with the nodes connected to USD. We now have Python bindings as well. So it allows to do a lot more, and that's why USD. But I want to emphasize that it's about how we use USD in comp, right? For comp artists, right? Yes, we will add more 3D tools into it, and we have revamped the whole selection system, which is really cool, and it looks modern and everything. Not like, or let's be honest, the new classic 3D system is a 90s tool, so it looked like that. So now we actually have a more modern 3D system. So it's kind of that evolution and that integration to the rest of the pipeline, and it gives us the chance to actually rethink what else we need to do in there for compers.
That's great. And kind of like blurring the line between departments like comp and lighting is kind of something that's happening, it's smaller shops but also larger studios, and having a common framework is really a good foundation piece there. There's two questions that came in, one around machine learning, which I'm going to get into, and then there's we have a whole discussion on machine learning we're going to have in a minute. There's another question around V-Ray and Mari. Maybe Charlie, you can just touch on that. What Mari's support for V-Ray looks like.
Sure. Yeah, so with all of our vendor partners, the way that integration with Mari works is that we ask them to develop the shaders themselves. That way it's as close to a one-to-one match to the final look as it can be, rather than us providing something that is an approximation of what the final render could be. So excitingly, Chaos have been amazing this year, and they have been not only providing us with a brand new V-Ray 6 shader for Mari that will be released alongside Mari 7, but also actively helping us iron out the bugs and niggles that come up with integrating new shaders as well. So they've been amazing. The relationship's going well. And yes, if there are any other vendor shaders support that you are looking for and you don't find in Mari, please tell us, but also reach out to that render partner and do beg them to provide a shader for Mari. We'd love to have more.
Yeah, great. While we're talking about render partners, there's another question coming. I'm dying to get to the machine learning bit, by the way. But just one more question on rendering is someone asked what Katana support for more rendering systems looks like. Someone dropped as well, like whether Karma was going to be supported. Gary, where's Katana going with respect to that?
It's a great question, Mark. Yeah, so one of the advantages and reasons that we're looking at Hydra in the future is the fact that any of our render partners or anyone who actually ships a renderer that is a Hydra render delegate would be able to render out of Katana. That's our goal, so that if a render supports a Hydra render delegate, then they should be able to make sure that can render through Katana. It's not there right now with Katana 7, but it's definitely something that we're looking to do in the future. So as long as those Hydra render delegates are able to ship and be separate to the actual application, which I hope Karma would be, as well as things like cycles or any of the other ones that we don't currently support. That would be all things that could just plug into Katana and work. It's definitely our goal moving forward. So great question.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. I mean, the idea is, frameworks like Hydra and USD, like these are frameworks that are agnostic, that allow you to either like build a pipeline or be able to pick and choose the different tools you want to work with, the vendors you want to work with. I think that really embodies like kind of the spirit of how Foundry tries to deliver things, right? And we know visual effects is very much it's a complicated and very situational kind of artistic process, and being able to choose your tools and build your processes out and have as much freedom as you can is really kind of the ethos that we have. Hydra is a really great way of inviting as many partners into the ecosystem as possible. So I really like that. Let's move to machine learning. Machine learning is, it's an area that's been engrossed in controversy. Obviously, it was like a big topic during, the strikes recently this year. But I feel like, Foundry has been very consistent and a little bit different in the way we've approached machine learning. Coming from like the research side, like we've invested in machine learning over several years, and the approach has always been to be able to deliver machine learning in a way that is fully under artist control. We see it as like an extension of the artist's workflow. This like magic button and stuff comes out of nowhere, but it was all trained on things that are in a black box. Isn't really the approach we wanted to take. We want to take the approach where you're able to use the machine learning as kind of like a co-pilot or a companion that you can train and control and refine yourself. And that's led us to kind of the flagship machine learning feature that's been in Nuke since Nuke 13, which is a Copycat. Really great tool. If you haven't checked out Copycat, we have all kinds of great tutorials, learning material, all the way from beginner to advanced on our learning channel. So if you go to learn.foundry.com, there's great stuff there. Some folks will put some pointers in the chat for you. Check it out. We're adding more and more as we go along. We did what we call a masterclass at SIGGRAPH for Copycat. It's kind of like a more advanced, like once you've understood Copycat, like how do you apply it in more advanced scenarios? So we're looking at packaging that up and bringing it out to you. So just a really, really great tool, but that's really just the beginning. We're investing in machine learning really for the long term. And it's tough because machine learning is moving really fast. I've lost track of how many CEOs OpenAI has had over the last week. It's been, and that's just one indicator of how crazy things are in the machine learning space. But having said that, we do have a pretty clear idea of where we think machine learning is going to bring kind of the most utility and the most help to people out there. And not just, within Nuke, but also, we're looking forward towards Katana and Mari as well. Maybe let's just kick it off with Juan. Maybe tell us a little bit about what are the new things that are new in machine learning. I know we've done some things around helping you scale training, and also, we sped up inference and, some other great things on the machine learning side in Nuke 15, but also where we're going beyond that.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, it's been a beautiful road that has happened with Copycat. It's been very interesting to see how people is using it, how people is creating things with it, and that idea of it, you have to change as a compositor a little bit your mind of how you approach it, and different than some of the comp. But the idea was always give that power to the artist. And in 15, the main thing that we have been trying to do is around speed first of all. So it was how fast can you actually get from the moment that you set it up and start training to evolving that model that you're going to generate, and how you move it faster. So the first part we did was distributed training. So the ability to actually push it as if it was just a render farm, right? And the ability to connect it with different kind of render managers, and you can actually output from Nuke, put some machines to train out, so you can continue working in Nuke and continue doing your work, or doing other models or doing other shots, right? So that was the first bit that we were actually looking at that. There was also the multi-resolution training. So either way, we were speeding it up by making sure that you have multi-resolution ways of training internally. So that's automatically it starts using a lower resolution. And as it starts training and it goes through the training, it starts using a mid-level resolution until it gets to a high resolution quality of your footage to do that training process, speeding up the whole thing. So it was, how do we give that workflow a more, not at the beginning, some people were doing training and just waiting for hours, things that at the beginning in 13, for example, we did one of the examples of roto and getting mats that used to take an hour, and we used to say, well, you can now go for lunch and kind of come back and do it. Now that same training takes minutes, right? So sorry about that. You only have kind of time to go do a toilet break, not lunch anymore. But, it will give you that evolution in that space. So that was kind of the versioning and the idea of that. But we thought that there was other ways as well to do that. And it was actually bringing inference into the timeline. So we have actually brought machine learning as well into sequence-based workflows and into review with Hero and Hero Player and Nuke Studio. So now you can actually start your models in Nuke and actually take that model, and you want to check it against the next 10 shots. You have it in Nuke Studio, you can just apply that as inference in the next 10 shots, check how that works, if it works or if it doesn't. Or you can create your own machine learning tools for QC and use it in Hero when you're doing QC sessions with all your artists in Hero Player, right? So it's bringing some of that workflows into other spaces. And as you mentioned, kind of what we kind of are looking around, bringing that into Katana and into Mari, as well as we're looking kind of that expansion of that work. There is obviously a lot other things that we're looking in the Nuke side to the future and other workflows. At the moment, we generate mats. We are looking kind of what happened with roto shapes and what can we do in that space. In roto is very interesting. There is also kind of, we all have known that machine learning has been used for beauty works and face work and that side. So we are looking at tool sets that could make that easier. But again, I think the main point that we're trying to do here is around how do we make tools for the artists that they understand and that they are not black boxed, right? And that's a major thing, is how do we as artists contribute into that and build those tools as they move forward. The other part of this is we are opening the category as well for submissions. So please do tell us if you have a really cool model and you know your stuff and you want to talk to us about it. That'll be amazing.
Yeah, for those of you that don't know, the category is our library of machine learning models that have been wrapped in Copycat. So these are like off the shelf, like freely available models that work inside of Nuke's Copycat node. And you can build some yourself. Like if you have a machine learning model, you can wrap it in Copycat and use it in Nuke. It's really cool. So yeah, so we're opening that to people to submit new things. That's really neat.
Yeah. I think that's kind of the main areas that we're looking into. Obviously, there is kind of other things here and there. Yeah. Again, I think you said it very well. This is moving really fast, and there is really, and I think probably the better way to say is we're trying to find what is the better way to bring the tool sets to the artist, right? There's a lot of really exciting things, but it's kind of how do we give you really the power of that, and that's the movement.
And kind of similar to the foundational work we're doing with USD as like a platform that we can build functionality and workflows into Nuke and Katana and Mari over time. We're kind of doing the same thing with machine learning as well, right? Where we're taking the core of what we've built around Copycat and hoping to extend that out to more, outside of Nuke to other tools. Hey, Gary and Charlie, I know you guys have on your horizon, like looking at how to leverage our Copycat framework and bring machine learning tools into Katana and Mari. What are some of the things you guys are looking at in the future in that area?
You want to go first? Okay. Thank you. Yeah, we've been working with the research team throughout this year, really, I think since the beginning of this year, to really figure out what machine learning looks like in Mari. Exactly the same as Juan and as you said, Matt, we are looking to enable artists, not to displace them. So for us, it's important that machine learning is not just a gimmick or just a, just something, make a pretty picture, do my texture for me. No, it's going to be something where it's either reducing a really, really painful manual process for the artist, or it's going to be something where you're currently having to leave the application to go and do that somewhere else. So I've been looking at the discussion in the chat as well. And guys, we're on the same page. Don't worry. Tiling, delighting, upscaling, anything like that. Those are all things that we either are excited to investigate or are already investigating. So yes, big ideas. We're happy to talk more about machine learning with anyone who is interested or would like to suggest their ideas. We'd love to. Mari is prime for that.
People have been throwing stuff in the chat. Right?
Yeah, do it.
There's your idea.
Throw it at me. I will absorb it all and turn it into a plan.
And Gary, I know you've been looking at things in terms of like machine learning is applied to rendering, lighting, which is also really interesting.
Yeah, there's a couple of areas that machine learning can be interesting once you've got a fantastic framework that actually underpins the different applications for us to build on. So there's the 3D side of it. What can you actually do with machine learning and what you can train to actually help with the 3D side? Could it help with something like layout where you can actually bring items in and just have, give me a table and you can start blocking things out? It's a really interesting thing that maybe at some point in the future. But there's also the traditional stuff that everyone thinks of that almost really started a lot of this, which is around the obvious stuff around upscaling, denoising, that kind of thing, which obviously anything that helps reduce your render time or to get things down is really, really interesting. There's a few other bits and pieces that I don't want to go into right now that we're also considering over the next 12 months, but it's a bit of a watch this space and we'll see how that all progresses, and can't deliver everything before we actually come to a release next year. So, but yeah, I'm really excited by how easy it will be to deliver some of these things when we have this underlying framework between all of the different applications. It's one of those examples whereby with all of our ships on the water, by raising the water up, all of our ships can actually go up as well, which is really, really exciting. So it makes a big difference when it comes to implementing and delivering all of these things between the applications, which is great.
Yeah, that's really great. And speaking of kind of rendering in Katana, someone mentioned the Katana Nuke Bridge, which I thought was a really cool feature. It came out, especially when we were talking about the common USD framework, but also more importantly, the workflow between lighting and comp, and kind of attacking the usability and iteration speed on multiple fronts there. In terms of getting different tools to work together smoothly between either departments or just tasks or just things you're doing to create that final image. What's the plan around the new Katana bridge? Is it something we're continuing to look at? And I think the question was, there's something like it needs more love. I mean, everything could always use more love, but I thought it was a really great feature to put out there, so that it's very loved. Sure,
I think the question was actually more around the Nuke Mari bridge, but
the Nuke Mari bridge. Maybe I missed it. Yeah.
The Nuke Katana bridge. You've set me up now, and I'm not going to step.
Well, go for it.
You talked about that, so I will carry on with the Katana to Nuke bridge, and then I will allow Charlie and Juan to talk about anything they want to talk about with the Katana to Mari bridge, the Nuke to Mari bridge. So yeah, the Katana to Nuke bridge was something that came out a couple of versions ago in Katana 5. It's a great system for enabling you to stream image data from one application to the other, run it through a Nuke template, and then stream the information back. We've had some great examples of that actually being used. It really does point to the fact that so many of the projects that people are working on right now, only part of the look is actually discovered in lighting. A lot of it is actually delivered in the comp. And what you actually want to end up doing is just making sure you've got the right information to move to Nuke. So having that Katana to Nuke bridge means you can continue to finesse things and make sure that you have everything you need for actually achieving the final look in comp, which is great. In terms of where we're going with it, we are continuing to build on it. We're just getting some feedback in terms of what customers actually want to see with the next version of it. And we've got lots and lots of plans around that. So as it wasn't actually my question, I don't want to dig too deep.
No, let's just, Charlie, the Nuke Mari Bridge as well is something folks are interested in.
Go.
Yeah, like I'd rather it had been your question. The Nuke Mari Bridge, yes, I completely agree. It's not been something that has received a lot of attention for quite a while now, and it does sort of notoriously break every now and again. There are studios, there are people who are actively using it as is. However, yes, it is on our radar, and it is something that we would love to update. Pretty similar to what Chris mentioned in the chat. We have been discussing whether or not USD is an avenue for us to improve on that in the future. And I hope Chris doesn't mind me saying, but he's going to have a lot of future conversations with me about it. But yes, if you have ideas on what you'd like out of a Nuke Mari Bridge, please do shout.
Yeah, that's great. That's awesome. I mean, that's kind of the wrap for the kind of the key areas I thought we would talk about. I just want to call attention to some of the things that are available to all of you. I mean, I mentioned them in the beginning at the 90-day trial for Nuke. So all of you listening, please check that out. That'll be available for a limited time kind of going forward in the future. So jump on it while you can. I think it's just a really great opportunity to get access to the latest and greatest in Nuke. And like Juan said, it's a jam-packed release with Nuke 15 with all sorts of great stuff. I'm always, especially excited by the machine learning stuff personally. There's some great advances there. The USD system, kind of the next generation now, the second generation is looking really, really great. It's worth checking out and giving us feedback on the forums. But there's just tons of other stuff definitely worth checking out. And the Mari and Katana are also available for 30-day trials. Go check those out. Mari 7 in beta, check that out. That looks really great. All sorts of great features there. Try the bakery, go bake some stuff, and create some tasty textures. And also subscribe to the channel. Like I said, this is a growing place for us to bring content. Our show reel will be coming. Subscribing to the channel will get you the jump on everything that we're dropping in this channel. So do please subscribe and stay on top of everything what we're doing here. We'll take a couple more questions out of the chat if there's anything else. Let me see. Is there anything that we haven't gotten to that or that are very observant folks in the chat? By the way, I'm loving the suggestions. It's really great that the questions, first of all, are not tame, and that the suggestions are direct for the things you guys really want to see. We really sincerely appreciate that. We love hearing about the things that are important to you, and we're always listening and trying to find the best way of getting things to you in the best way possible, but also as swiftly as possible. So it's great to have this opportunity to hear it directly from everyone. So thanks very much. And as usual, our community channels are a great way for us to stay in touch. Everybody here, we check those channels, and we're always listening to users. So it may not seem like we're always directly face to face like this, but this is an opportunity to have that. We're always listening. Please continue to give us suggestions. We value it greatly.
I have the feeling that there was one more question for Nuke that I hadn't seen around multi-core performance. So performance is always important to us, and we are always looking into it. We added top-down rendering. If you haven't played with it. It'll be amazing if you can play with it and actually give us feedback. That is one of the answers to using more cores, because we actually process the graph in a different way. And we are looking at other areas that we can do that. Part of the power of Nuke is because of the way their infrastructure is, we can throw anything at it. For example, one of the things that we did this year is actually make it now 64K for the GPU size. So we are doing bigger and bigger things in Nuke that Nuke was never built originally for, but we can still do them with the infrastructure that we have. And we are looking into a lot of that and how that interrelates to the multi-threading and being able to use more cores in your machines, especially when you're looking at kind of Threadrippers and things that have loads of them. So we do want to use them more. We are looking at older versions. We are looking at I/O as well, so you can actually multi-thread the I/O. So there is multiple areas there that we are looking into. More than happy to talk about it. If you check top down and you can send us feedback on it, that'll be amazing, and we can talk about what else we are doing there.
Yeah, and Nuke on Metal as well, the new Apple.
Oh yeah, we did Nuke on Metal as well.
Yeah,
which nice. Was a lot like on Apple Silicon this year as well. That takes advantage of the unified memory. So we're doing a lot of those on those bases.
Yeah, and there's a question here about making the viewport interactive in the Baker. A wish there.
Yeah, so that was a feature that was possible in the Modo Bake palette. In the future, we would love to deprecate the Modo Bake palette. So if there's any functionality like that that you really want the bakery to have, we do want to know. In terms of being able to rotate and navigate the preview, yes, we absolutely do want to do that. There are a lot of things we wanted to do with the bakery, but just unfortunately didn't have the time this year. So we're trying to make sure we pencil those in as soon as possible. And a lot of things that we would like to do in terms of lofty aspirations with the bakery, you know, whether texture transfer could come into that sort of engine or anything like that. So yes, watch this space.
Yeah, and Mr. Kujawa has a Christmas wish for 64K textures. That I guess that'll partly depend on whether they're on the naughty list or not.
Anthony is on the naughty list, and he knows it. I can't promise anything, Anthony, but probably not for this Christmas.
All right. And there was another question I think that passed by that I don't think is that I think would be a shame to neglect. But there's someone who asked, "Is there like kind of a learning path for Katana from end to end?" You know, kind of learning Katana is, you know, Katana is a very very comprehensive look dev and lighting tool. Gary, what's the best way if you're coming in to Katana? What's the best way of getting started and really like not only learning Katana but getting on a path to being able to master it, and also maybe like kind of winning over in your studio like a shift to Katana so you can kind of adopt it at scale where it really starts to shine? What's the best way of getting people involved in like that?
I think the easiest way to really get started with Katana is to follow the Learn website and to go through the different paths there to actually get you skilled up. We're continuing to expand on that, and we're hoping to get some even more advanced tooling to really teach you the ins and outs of like Python programming inside Katana and improving your skill set in that with some more examples, hopefully over the next 12 months. So please follow along, go through that and carry on. We have example projects. A lot of people really like to follow along with the example projects and do that. They're actually built into the product as well. That's a nice way to see things, to go through examples that are already shipping in the product, which does help to get you up and running, particularly if you can't quite remember how you do like AOVs or something like that for a particular renderer. You can find examples of that. And we're just going to continue building on that over as we go forward. And that's really the best way. It's one of those things whereby because Katana itself is not a full-on DCC where you actually create things, it also helps if you can start finding projects and assets that's actually online or from us to actually help you to start, okay, what does it actually take to bring this in properly, set up a lighting template and move it all forward. Set yourself tasks like that. I'd recommend things like the RenderMan challenge, right? They do lighting challenges the more of those you do, the better you'll get with the product as well. So that will always help too. And once you've done it once, how can I automate that? How do I make it so the next lighting challenge that comes out just fits in? I've already got first pass to that. So keep on being interactive in the way that you learn the product. There's only so much you can do from just following along with tutorials, like watching them. You actually need to get your hands dirty, play around with it, and just keep trying to light and keep moving it forward. So that would be my advice for that. And then start writing tools if you want. That's always good. Python, macros, super tools, stuff like that.
Yeah, great. And Anthony, despite being on the naughty list, is also requesting another text string competition, which sounds like a cool idea. So that's maybe one for the new year. I think we'll wrap it up here. You guys have all been amazing. The chat has been great. Thank you so much for the questions once again. Don't forget to subscribe, check out our channels, check out the community, stay in touch. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Juan, Gary, and Charlie. You guys have been really amazing, and I hope we do more of these.